What if the way you see your body was never really your own belief?
I lived a very small life. Like I was terrified to travel. I was terrified to eat out. I was terrified to meet people. You don't deserve to suffer. And that was just this mind blowing sentence. The biggest lie that society tells is that you can lose weight and keep it off.
Hello, hello, welcome to Mindset to Results, and today we have amazing guest Marcella Raimondo. And we will speak about very interesting topic: breaking free from body shame, reclaiming your identity and inner strength. What if the way you see your body was never really your own belief, but a story shaped by society, media, and expectations? Today we are breaking this story. And in this powerful conversation with Marcella, who is clinical psychologist, we explore body liberation, self-respect, and how reclaiming your identity can transform the way you live and love yourself, and you live all your life. Hi, Marcella.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here.
You're most welcome. I'm so excited to have you as a guest today. Thank you. And before we move to the questions, would you please briefly tell a little bit about yourself, why you do what you do?
Hmm. Um, as you mentioned, I'm a psychologist and also a trainer, and I've been doing this work with eating disorders and body liberation for since 1995. Uh, I do this work first stemmed from my own recovery from anorexia. I was a teenager and I had recovered from anorexia. And as I began to recover and as I began to open my eyes to see what was happening in society, I saw a lot of glamorization of very ultra thin bodies, and I had a very hard time seeing these bodies because they mimicked the body I had during my eating disorder, and it was astonishing to see, like, wow, how are we admiring a body that takes so much that requires a certain degree of starvation to have. Like these weren't natural bodies. And um so I remember seeing that, and that really actually began to create a degree of energy in me and wanting to address this, also being really upset with what I saw, being upset like we're being sold something that's unrealistic and actually pretty dangerous, healthy wise, medically, psychologically. So that really began to spur my interest. I also wanted to help folks with eating disorders because the suffering from eating disorders is really tremendous, and it was something that I wanted to help more. So I got more involved with community outreach. I got more involved with activism, and then I got more involved in pursuing a degree in psychology to become a psychologist.
Thank you so much, Marcella. So you personally recovered from anorexia over 20 years ago. So what was the turning point in your mindset that allowed you to begin healing and reclaiming your life?
Well, I feel that I had, as while I was suffering and in the throes of my eating disorder and incredibly relentless about it and terrified of not having an eating disorder, I also had enough insight because I was also reading about it and studying it to know that this isn't gonna work. I could die. That is definitely one outcome. But even if I don't die, I began to notice that I can't really live. Like, I can't really concentrate. I was accepted to a grad school program. Like, how am I going to do this program? I can't focus. I can't concentrate. I wasn't present in my relationships. I was terrified of going out to eat, so I wouldn't do so. So I lived a very small life, and I just began to notice this more and more and more, and was noticing the way that my life continued to remain small as people around me, we were graduating from college, their lives were getting bigger, and my life was just continuing to be really small. I also knew at some point, like, this really just isn't sustainable. Like the mental the mental load that I have, like carrying an eating disorder and trying to have it, was just getting too much. I mean, I could have just completely locked myself in it and gone into it, and probably would have some serious medical outcomes, if not, perhaps not even be alive. So there's that piece, but also more the other piece of, I think I just started to take some ask myself some hard questions of, is this the life that I really want to have? And it became clear, like, the answer is no. Like, I was terrified to travel, I was terrified to eat out, I was terrified to meet people, I was terrified if I couldn't exercise, I was terrified about what I was, if I was to ever gain weight. And so that kind of terror and hypervigilance, I just began to question of, do I really want a life like this?
Yeah, so it is not just about food. So as you said, it also comes that you were afraid to meet people. Yeah, so it is not just about food and gaining weight. It is also much bigger, yes, than what we usually know about anorexia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and what changed that you started healing? What exactly changed for you? From which moment you decided that enough is enough, I'm not going to be here? And what was that moment that you found yourself on the other side of this situation?
Um, it it involved, like, first just pursuing help. In that um, that I went to a therapy center. I went to a group, and began to share my struggles and my stories, and saying it out loud, which was very powerful. Also, I remember, like, talking to a therapist, talking to a dietitian, and I remember, I'll never forget what this dietitian said to me as I just started crying and saying, like, this is my life, because she wanted to, like, hey, what are you eating? And she was going to work on a meal plan with me, and I told her, and I just started breaking down, like, everything is terrifying for me. It's about food, and then it isn't about food, but it was just about this type of suffering that I was putting myself through. And I remember just her handing me a box of Kleenex and saying, you don't deserve to suffer. And that was just this mind-blowing sentence. It was just literally one sentence. And that kind of shift, and that kind of taking in, something, I don't think I had something say, I didn't have someone say something to me so directly about my eating disorder. And that was, I remember that shift for me.
Yeah, so where did you find this difference between your beliefs and reality? Because when people have these mental, I would say, mental conditions, right? And they believe that this is what they think is true, but it is not true. It is just their beliefs, and they think this is true, that is not true for other people and not reality. So how you could shift, how you could come from that, I would say, mental prison which was holding you there and made you have all these sufferings? How did you make yourself free from that?
That took years. That was definitely not an overnight. I mean, it takes years, because, as you can imagine, as you were saying, like, that type of conditioning takes time to uncondition and to relearn something new. It it took years. I mean, even after that dietitian said that, it wasn't like, hallelujah, everything's changed. It took those reminders over and over again, and having people tell me over and over again, and being in treatment and being told over and over again. It took my own emotional process. It took and having to hear that over and over again. It took me doubting it and constantly finding ways or finding places in me that I still believed I didn't deserve better. And like, okay, well, what's that story about? What's that about? And so there was just, it was like tapping into a lot of places in me. And I think what keeps me going, because someone might say, well, that sounds exhausting to do that the rest of your life. And while it can sound that way, I am hoping that for all of us, it is a desire to evolve ourselves. It is a desire to have a life worth living. It is a desire of what is keeping me blocked from being my true authentic self. It is, I also believe like we pursue this because we want some degree of peace and harmony for ourselves. I mean, I will say like what kept me going was that each year it got better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and when you analyze the situation, when you look back, did you find what became the cause of that disease? Where were the roots, where it started?
Some of it were family dynamics. Some of it was my own, a lot of self esteem issues. A lot of it was working on really changing, like I often call it these like really core dysfunctional beliefs. I think of feeling like unworthy or unlovable or undeserving, which was rooted in family dynamics, but not in a very like direct way. It wasn't like my family um, were traumatic, awful folks. It was like they were dealing with their own aspects. They were dealing with cultural aspects. My mother immigrated here from Peru. She didn't understand. She was trying to learn this culture, and for her, learning this culture meant that to be a successful American, particularly as a woman, you have to be thin. And so she really held like you must be thin, Marcella, not in any cruel way because she thought, you're a very unattractive person. In fact, she thought the opposite, but it was more of thinness will protect you. Thinness will give you what you want. Thinness will actually help you in this society, which is true. And for her, coming in as an immigrant and learning English and dealing with her own like issues around her own feelings around her accent, her own feelings around the culture, the language, she was like trying to understand. So for her, dealing with her own racism, she felt like, well, what can help with that is thinness.
So psychologically, it was like a protecting mechanism, yes, to protect you,
Absolutely.
which psychologically you developed, and then it came out in this shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so many people today struggle with self image because of media pressure and social standards, as you mentioned. So, from your decades of work in media literacy and psychology, what is the biggest lie that society tells people about their bodies?
The biggest lie that society tells is that you can lose weight and keep it off. That is the absolute biggest lie. And so we are sold products after products after products. We are sold gimmicks. We are sold secrets that, I mean, I have gone down various rabbit holes because I'm curious, like, well, okay, what's being sold now? And like anything from Jello diets to GLPs to I mean, all the various diets. I mean, we are constantly sold in some kind of manipulative way that you can lose all the weight and keep it off. When our bodies just don't want to lose a significant amount of weight, our bodies kind of want to remain in this in what's called like more of a set point where our bodies land, where our bodies want to be comfortable, and so we are just constantly told that you can transform your body, and often you can transform it in a short period of time. We have this degree of impatience. And so we were also being told, like, you can do this pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, how someone can reclaim a healthy identity?
I think folks can claim a healthy identities by tapping into their values and asking, like, what's important to you? Is it community? Is it your work? Is like and what about it? Um, so I think I think that that is one way to reclaim. I think another way is to really study diet culture, study even study nutrition, and we'll hear that you'll see that our bodies need food. Our bodies need a lot of food. If we study diet culture, we'll see like, wow, we have been sold and shared this really manipulative, cruel way of relating to ourselves. Like, do we really want to do that? We've also been told that we are not to trust ourselves. And do we and I think that is a core value that we need to embrace, is like, my body and I want to trust ourselves. We can trust ourselves. My body actually wants to take care of me and protect me. So I can start to trust myself. I can start to listen to myself. I can start to see like what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And I think as we start to explore that and bring that in, I think what we can start to reclaim ourselves. And so and really like expanding our values. I mean, if you ask me what my values are, I'll say like, values are community, values are my work, and I like working hard, and values are also play and joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you mean that when people feed their values, like satisfy their values, they might be less dependent on food, because through certain foods they also can compensate or create some feelings which they have, right? Like for example, people can have cravings for sweets, for sugar, like for something sweet, and this is how they satisfy their need to be loved, or maybe to have warm relations. Yes, so uh, I think this is very important. Yes, so people can understand what really their needs, as you said, and really give them that, so they don't need to satisfy these needs through emotional eating. Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we do emotionally eat. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes we're having a bad day and we are like, man, I need X, Y, and Z. Today was a bad day. That's okay. Yet, if we're finding ourselves like checking out, meaning like tuning out our emotions, tuning out our needs, avoiding, using it to cope with unhealed pain, then I would say yes, let's take a look at that, and let's not use food for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and also uh, um, we have habits, right? We are creatures of habits. So where is that golden middle where we listen our body, but on other way we are not slaves of our body? Because if people feel good eating chips and they just listen their body and eat chips every day, so it will not serve them well. So where do you think is that middle golden like place between listening to your body, as you said, and also not be a victim of maybe not healthy habits? Because as we know, many people eat different food like sweets or hamburgers or like fast food, which they feel maybe it is good because this is what they eat and what they like and used to do, but on the other hand we know that it is not healthy, and if they continue this scenario and to choose this kind of food, they will not be healthy and can create different problems in few years.
I think where we start to where this could be really tricky is when we and this requires some work and some trust. I mean, I have worked with folks when they're like, I eat chips and they're bad for me. I eat them every day and they're bad for me. and I first start off saying like, well, first we need to stop making chips bad. Like let's take that label off. Otherwise, you're going to get pulled in and out and the psychology around that. And so and then I asked do you like the chips first of all? And are you reaching for them when there's like another need or another emotion happening for you? Sometimes I ask folks like, well, what are you eating throughout the day? And folks might share with me like, well, I eat chips every day at night. And then I'm hearing that they don't eat much breakfast. They eat this really what I call like a sad salad for lunch. And then at night they're like, I'm eating all these chips. I'm like, well, because you're not eating throughout the day. And many times we have realities and limits. Like sometimes we may not be able to access the food we want. We may not have the time. So let's say some of our breakfasts and lunches, let's say, are like, oh, that was kind of scattered, not really, I had to put it all together. Sometimes we have food like that, but if we're on this like discipline track of not eating much, and then I'm trying to be good, and then I have chips and burgers and all, now I'm bad, like then we're going to be really caught up in what's like a deprivation cycle. And when you're in a deprivation cycle, you're just going to overeat, or you're going to eat the quote unquote bad foods, and then the psychology of what it does for us. And so I've worked with folks and saying like, well, let's just say all foods are okay, which can be really scary to hear. And like, well, I wouldn't trust myself. I'm like, at some point your body will calm down. Like at some point when you say all foods are okay, then you'll start to see like, what do I want? What am I in the mood for?
So what I hear that this what you shared, that when we give our body all good food, it will have less craving for that one which we would not eat, right? Like give our body food which is nutritious, and that it will have less cravings. Yes, and not label that bad food, because usually is forbidden, we curve that more, right? Like psychologically, if something
Yeah.
we are not allowed, we would think about this, right? Like psychologically we will be pulled towards that more. But when we feed our body and give all necessary, it will have less craving, because sometimes we don't exactly want what we think. Can think that we want something sweet, but actually it may be just feel like that. But if we eat good food before that, we may find out that we don't want that anymore, because our body already got what it is needed. I mean, from the point of nutrition, and then we will not have that craving.
Right. Yeah.
Great. So you often speak about body liberation. What does true body freedom actually mean psychologically? And how can people move from self criticism to self respect?
Mm. I think the more we start to tap into what our bodies do for us, the more we tap into how can we take care of our bodies. And I also know like our healthcare system sometimes, I mean, many times makes it hard for folks. And so this can be hard for folks who are dealing with like chronic health conditions and chronic pain. So I do want to note that as I talk about what can we do for our bodies. What can we do with our bodies? When folks start sharing like I need to lose weight in order to be healthy, I might ask like, well, what can you do like with and for your body? Like if you want to exercise, um, that's great. If you want to bring in some type of movement into your life. I think where we get caught up is just thinking about this is at my body, or this is what my body looks like. And I would, and granted, that is a journey. No doubt. It's not an overnight where I'll say like, just love your body. Um, but there is something about what does valuing your body mean to you? And I ask folks like what does that mean? And asking folks about, when did you notice you had a body? What was happening? And also as you're going through life, how is your body serving you? Um, and some folks might share like it's hard because I have these health conditions, and so it's like, okay, these are some realities, and your body's still here trying to serve you. I mean, I folks have shared like when they are at a place more of liberation, and these are folks who are pretty able-bodied, have shared that, my strong legs, I'm able to go on hikes. They Some folks have shared like my body allowed me to give birth to my daughter, and so they share events and things they like doing that are important to them, and they can do this because of the body they have. Our diet culture is cruel. Our diet culture somehow has like latched on to this thinness at all costs. And I ask folks over and over, like really think about those messagings, and also that degree of morality that diet culture is now putting on you, and really commenting about like, if you're not thin, then what are you doing? So it's something that I ask, like, is this what you want you and your body to kind of go through? That's And so asking folks like with body liberation, like what does it mean to navigate in the body that you have? What does it mean to do things with and for your body? Like movement. Like what kind of movement do you like? Do you like to dance? I mean, just all the ways. And so it's asking folks to like just really reassess their relationship with their bodies.
Yes, it is. All starts with self-love. Yes, self-love and self-respect, and not to fit yourself to somebody else's criteria. Yes, that it is not that this is criteria for what is beautiful. Yes, for whom? Who set those criteria? Yes, so when we love ourselves and we love our body, I think we will take more care of our body, right? When we love ourselves and when we know what feels good. Yes, and exactly like what weight we have when we feel good. For example, I know that what approximately what weight makes me feel when I feel light, when I feel full of energy, and when I gain some kilos, I can feel like more heavier. So if we listen ourselves, our body will tell us what weight we want to have, like approximately in from which diapason. And like in order to be happy and healthy, I think that we really have to listen our body, because we have all the answers, instead of putting ourselves to somebody's rules or criteria for being beautiful or is accepted as a beautiful person.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, because I believe that everybody is beautiful, right? Everybody is unique and beautiful. And when people really respect themselves, love themselves, we will take care of their body the best. And this is how they will be the best in their own shape.
Hmm. I agree.
Yes, so you have been working in this field since 1995 and have served on multiple advisory boards influencing policy and institution. So, what changes do you believe society and organizations must make to create a healthier culture around body image and mental well being?
I think society and institutions really need to get away from a weight-centric model, and that is really equating weight and health and saying like these two are synonymous or these two this is a linear relationship. I've noticed a lot of institutions get really caught up in with the focus on weight loss and from um, just from campaigns, from various programs to like just a lot of emphasis on that. And so I think it's so important that we start to really move away from that. Folks might argue of like, of then are you telling me to not take care of myself? Or there's this also viewpoint that like when many of us say like let's move away from a weight centric model, I get this backlash of saying like, so are you telling us to just not take care of ourselves at all? I'm like, no, not at all. I would say like organizations can actually sponsor other programs. You can sponsor programs around movement and encouraging folks to get engaged in movement. You can sponsor folks around meditation and taking breaks. You can sponsor programs about having farmers markets come to your organizations and work settings for folks to buy produce. So I'm like, there, and absolutely not. You can do all kinds of things to promote health. Like, why does it always have to be weight loss?
Yes, yes, there are a lot of ways how to promote healthy health and healthy body. Yes, that is not only weight, because yes, it is very individual. Yes, weight is very individual, and what is good weight for one person can be totally sick. Another person can get sick having that weight. Yes, so I'm totally agree. You are also a martial artist with a second degree black belt. How has martial arts training influenced your psychological resilience and your philosophy about healing and personal strength?
Hmm. Martial arts has been pretty incredible in that it has created an avenue and a place for me to connect with my body, to connect in a way to tap into my body's power, to be okay with my body's power. It has tapped into a way of I need to take care of myself from nourishment to even just how I engage with others in order to do martial arts. And so I need a nourished body in order to do martial arts. And so my body is martial arts. And so it has really fostered that. Martial arts is also about our exchange with each other on the training floor. And so martial arts asks you to reflect on yourself and what was that a certain exchange like, particularly if it was an exchange that involved a sparring incident and one person was clearly dominating, let's say, or got strikes in. Like, how was that for you? Was did it kind of hurt your ego in ways? And so and martial arts also says like, can you celebrate that as well when we train and actually do really great things with our bodies. And so martial arts also asks us like, this is a community where we can lift each other up actually. That has a combative and competitive element, but also martial arts can really also lift all of us up to be like a better version of ourselves. And so I have really grown to love my training, and especially see what it has done for me.
For some listening us today who struggles with body shame, self-judgment, or disorder thinking about food, what are the first three steps they can take to begin rebuilding a healthy relationships with themselves?
I first ask folks like, well, what kind of relationship do you want? I mean, I think for some folks like, whoa, I've never thought about that. I've never I've never had to write that down about what do I want. I think we share a lot about I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of this, or I don't want to. I hate the fact that I'm just criticizing myself all the time. And so I ask folks like, well, then what do you want? What would a relationship look like? And ask folks like to go into detail with that, like what kind of relationship you want with your body and what kind of relationship you want with food. So I feel like those are the first two things. The second thing is, I would say, is to like, what are your values? What is important to you? And then the third thing is I ask folks like, are you doing something like eating wise or body image wise where you're like holding back or having some kind of rule enforced on you because, for that behavior? And I ask folks like, what if you did something different? I go, take that rule and change it up a little bit and see what it'd be like to have a different experience. Do something, and I share folks like do something contained. Some folks will share things like, I can't have cookies in my house, otherwise I'm going to eat them all. And I was like, then don't. If you feel like that's too much and that's overwhelming. But what if you went to a cafe and had a cookie there as a way to, in the afternoon, something you would never think about doing, and it's one cookie at a cafe? What would that be like?
Yeah, great. Yes, so thank you, Marcella, so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing your wisdom, experience, and heart with us today. So, this conversation reminds us that our relationship with our body is deeply connected to our relationship with ourselves. And if today's episode resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on how you speak to yourself and how you treat your body. Because the true transformation begins within self respect, yes, and self love. And if you found value in this conversation, please share this episode with someone you may need to hear it today. And Marcella, thank you so much. Where can our listeners learn more about you and your work and connect with you?
You can go to my website at Marcella as an eating disorder, training.com. You can also go to my Instagram at Dr. Marcella Raimondo. And also my LinkedIn at Marcella Raimondo. And so those are three immediate ways to get a hold of me.
Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to see you again in our future episodes.
I would love to, yeah, I'd love to come back.
You're welcome.